So I was asked to speak in a doctoral class in a special education program, and this particular class had a mix of first through third year students. Specifically, what I did was first give an overview of our intervention tools charts. We went through each of the standards, discussed the criteria by which we use to rate. And so, for example, for study design, one of our standards, we had a discussion about how full bubble, so the best rating on our chart, necessitated some key indicators of high quality study design, like random assignment, baseline equivalence between treatment groups, and lack of attrition bias. So we also discussed the importance of looking at other standards on our chart, like quality of the measures used to assess outcomes and measurement of fidelity of the intervention, and of course, the importance of looking at effect sizes. After our conversation sort of introducing the tools chart standards, we had an actual study on the chart that the students had read before, and we used that study to recreate a rating by each standard. We had students meet in small groups to discuss each of those different ratings. Then we came back to whole group after we look at one standard to talk through what our ratings were, what the ratings on the chart were. And by that way, we're really able to understand sort of the nuance of the chart and start thinking through study design. Yeah, so a few things. So first, I hoped it would help students become critical consumers of research. So when reading intervention studies in the future about a whole range of topics, these students could have the standards of high quality intervention and critical elements of study design in their minds to understand the strengths and weaknesses of the specific research they were reading and consuming from then on out. Also, as this was a doctoral study class, I knew that these students would likely take part in the peer review process and be peer reviewing articles. So I thought this might be a nice guide for them as they were reviewing intervention studies to help think about those standards and high quality study design. And then also in their own research, when they were thinking about designing their own studies, they could think about some of these elements as well.
One of the things that one of my students brought up or debriefing was that it really gave her confidence in how the ratings were determined. So once Jill gave us kind of the orientation of how this works, we were able to get a kind of behind the scenes peek at where these ratings come from. And the student really honed in on the fact that this improved her confidence in these ratings. I think our ultimate goal with undergrads on up through these doctoral level students are really to create people who can be effective consumers of research. And, with our doctoral level students, they need to kind of look at this in terms of their own research or research that they're evaluating. But even undergrads need to be able to use these tools charts to really evaluate, what am I using and why am I using that? And how does this fit in with what I'm already using? And just becoming an effective consumer of research is something that I think we try to, meet that goal for all of our students. The session with Jill went really well, and I think the general consensus was that they felt like they got a great orientation to it. They were blown away that this even existed. Many of their responses were, why didn't I know about this when I was a teacher? And wow, this is really going to help me when I'm reading research and also designing my own studies. I think, I had a range of students in my class from, like Jill mentioned, first through third year. Students also with a range of expertise and interests. I had some who were very interested in single case design, others who had some expertise in group design, but we were able to look at this one group design study and walk through it, and they were able to use it to get an idea of what the ratings were and how the tools charts kind of worked. Some of the students who had more expertise in single case design said that they had a little trouble rating the group design study because of their lack of knowledge in group design. So I think, in the future, I would really think about what my students bring and how am I going to scaffold this assignment to kind of focus on what they need to know, but also what they already know and what they bring to it.
What's nice about the tools charts for this kind of conversation that's more nuanced is you can click on the name of each of those standards and see the details that we have for each of our rating criteria. So you can really talk about that nuance. And the other thing that's nice is we have a whole chart full of examples to look at to understand our ratings. Beyond the intervention chart, we also have our screening and progress monitoring charts. And I think you could use a very similar format and instead just discuss becoming a critical consumer of assessment. And impart an understanding of what are those critical elements of a high quality assessment. And beyond that, I think those screening and progress monitoring charts really help students to understand the differences and the important unique aspects of these different types of assessment, screening and progress monitoring.
I have actually used the charts in an undergrad reading methods class, and I think it's especially critical that we begin to introduce these types of resources to our students who are about to go out into the field and become teachers. And I've had them do things like review programs or practices, different elements of intervention studies. You know, what is the dosage of this? What is the grouping structure that was used? Did they, you know, what type of fidelity ratings or fidelity checklists have they used? And there's definitely ways to sort of incorporate these tools charts all the way up through third level doctoral students or above, and then all the way down to undergrad students.
Yeah, absolutely, Jade. I think there's so much information on the charts. I think that an instructor could easily, as you were mentioning and have done, highlight the type of information that would be most important for different audiences. So with your class that we just did, it was a doctoral level class. I focused on some of the study design aspects, but if you're thinking about the intervention charts, for example, as you mentioned, in teacher prep program classes, you could highlight those usability features that we have on the charts and really talk through those. And another thing is we have the NCI has some really nice resources for teams of educators to help them choose high quality tools. So it could be important to emphasize those as well. So the amount of information, the great amount of information makes these really, I think, nice and easy to tweak to an audience.